أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وآله الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد. قال الله في كتابه الكريم أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنما وليكم الله ورسوله والذين آمنوا الذين يقيمون الصلاة ويؤتون الزكاة وهم راكعون صدق الله العلي العظيم. Illuminate your hearts and minds with a loud salawat ala Muhammadin wa ala Muhammad. These past 3 nights are one of the nights that are very popular in the month of Ramadan with us Shias. These 3 nights called the Laylatul Qadr, the 19th and the 21st and the 23rd of the month of Ramadan. Now what makes these days stand out, what makes these nights stand out, is how these nights have an effect on your year that is to come. What you do during these nights has an impact and predicts what will happen in the year that is to come for the person that is staying up these nights. And not only is it remembered and does it stand out for the benefits that it might have for someone, but also because of the remembrance of the passing of the Imam Ali alayhi salam. The remembrance of how he was slaughtered and martyred in such an unjust way that even in his passing there was nothing but oppression for him. Even in his passing they buried him and they held a burial for him, all anonymously. No one knew. It was all quietly in silence and in silence. That even after many years, no one was allowed to even find the grave of the Imam Ali alayhi salam because of the different terrors or the different things that they might have done to the grave. That even Hajjaj ibn Yusuf was even he even took out and he even ruined 30,000 graves just to find the grave of the Imam Ali alayhi salam. One thing has to be understood, that when we hold these nights, of course it's important for us to understand that the passing of the Imam Ali and the martyrdom is very important and something that should be held as very significant for us Muslims. But it's not just the passing, but his whole entire life after the Prophet was nothing but unjust and hardships and struggles. The Imam Ali, the same Imam Ali, that there are numerous different verses regarding this person, regarding this Imam. There are different hadiths regarding this. An example for one of the verses is the verse of Tathir, the Ayatul Tathir. What does it say? أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin. In this verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala states and says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants and He decides and He wills that the Ahlul Bayt, Imam Ali alayhi salam, Imam Hassan, Imam Hussein, Lady Fatima, and the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam are those who are pure and clean from any evil and wrong. This is one verse regarding the Imam Ali alayhi salam. Another verse, which was the verse that was recited at the beginning of Surah Al-Ma'idah, the 55th verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that the person who will be your leader after the Prophet and after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the person that has given zakat while he was doing ruku'. Imam Ali alayhi salam. This person, this is the same Ali that his relationship with the Prophet is the same as Prophet Musa and Harun alayhi salam. What does the Prophet say to Imam Ali alayhi salam? Anta minni bimanzilata Harun min Musa. Oh Ali, you to me are like Harun to Musa alayhi salam. This same Ali is the one that in the day of Ghadir, the Prophet raised his hand and said, Man kuntu mawla, fahada aliyun mawla. Whoever I am his master, Imam Ali alayhi salam is also his master. That even on this day, Umar himself came to Imam Ali alayhi salam and congratulated him. He said, Bakhin, Bakhin, Ya Ali, Ya Abul Hassan. You are now, I congratulate you on this, oh father of Hassan, Imam Ali. You have now become the leader of me and the leader of all the Muslims. Such a person with such a status has now after the passing of the Prophet, reached a state where there's nothing less in his life than struggles and hardships. After the passing of the Lady Fatima al-Zahra, after the different evils and unjust that they have done to the Imam Ali alayhi salam, he had to spend his whole entire life doing taqiyya, worried that they might disturb him and his family. He even compares all of these hardnesses, all of these struggles, to a bone stuck in the throat or a thorn that is stuck in one's eye. No matter what you do, you can't take this out. It's so frustrating, so much frustration, so much frustration, so much frustration that the Imam Ali alayhi salam went through just for us, just so that Islam can reach us. Praise Allah, salawat ala Muhammadin wa ala Muhammad. There is a sermon given from the Imam Ali alayhi salam, a khutbah, which records the different tragedies and the different hardships that the Imam Ali alayhi salam went through. And this sermon or khutbah is called Khutbatul Shiqshiqiyya, the sermon of Shiqshiqiyya. What does Shiqshiqiyya mean? What is the story or the history behind the naming of this khutbah? The Imam alayhi salam at the end of this khutbah, he says tilka shiqshiqatun hadarat. This is a shiqshiqa which was brought out, which was shown. In the past, Arabs would call shiqshiqa the organ, the balloon-like organ that would reside in the throat of a camel. That whenever this camel was going through, whenever this camel was excited or was very feeling sad, this shiqshiqa would come out and hang out from the mouth, similar to the tongue. This might have been mistaken to the tongue. And the sound that would come from the camel's mouth, the sound that the camel would produce when this shiqshiqa was hanging out, was called hadir. The Imam alayhi salam in this khutbah, he similarizes the hardships he's going through as shiqshiqa, the things that he is holding, the things that he is being patient and holding, like shiqshiqa, something that he's holding through his throat. And when he says that khutbah, it's as if the shiqshiqa was hanging out. And this khutbah, he similarizes it to hadir, the sound that a camel makes when the shiqshiqa is hanging out. In this khutbah, the Imam Ali alayhi salam begins with Ama wallah laqad taqammasaha ibn Abi Quhafa. Imam Ali alayhi salam starts and says that, oh, I swear to Allah that Ibn Abi Quhafa, or in some different copies of the Nahj al-Balagha, it says Fulanun, has worn the cloth or worn the clothes of Khilafat. We can see just from this one line, just from this one mats, how baligh and how much knowledge the Imam Ali alayhi salam had through his speech. He starts by saying that surely, without a doubt, Ibn Abi Quhafa has worn the clothes of Khilafat. Ibn Abi Quhafa here means Abu Bakr. Now, why did the Imam Ali alayhi salam use the term he wore the clothes? This is the reason. Because sometimes when there are different types of clothes that doesn't fit on top of a person, sometimes I wear clothes that are too big for me. Sometimes I wear clothes that are too tight for me. They're not fitting well with me. Imam Ali alayhi salam used it to show that the khilafat or the leadership of the Muslims is a status, is a rightship that is too big for Ibn Abi Quhafa, too big for Abu Bakr. So he similarized it to wearing clothes that is not fitting for Abu Bakr. This is another naming for the khutbatul shiqshiqiyya, also called khutbatul maqammas, also called the khutbah or the sermon of this clothes, of wearing clothes, of the stealing of the clothes. In the continuation, Imam Ali alayhi salam, he says, وَإِنَّهُ لِيَعْلَمُ أَنَّ مَحَلِّ مِنْهَا مَحَلُّ الْقُطْبِ مِنَ الرَّحَى. He says that he wore the cloth of Khilafat, Abu Bakr ibn Abi Quhafa, even though he knew that my understanding, that my knowledge and my position in Islam was that of the stick that is in between the rocks that are used to make flour. Asiyab, Qutb min al-Raha. In this, we can see that the Imam Ali alayhi salam refers to himself as the piston or the central pillar that Islam revolves around. When we see that an asiyab, or the tool that is used to make flour from wheat, this revolves around one single stick, one single central point. And if that's not there, there can be no good outcome. There can be no fruitful conclusions, which is wheat. Imam Ali alayhi salam, in this khutbah, he refers to himself as the stick or the piston that is holding everything together, and that he holds everything together. From these two lines, or these two phrases of the Imam Ali alayhi salam, we can already tell how much level of knowledge the Imam Ali alayhi salam has. Who would ever think of similarizing khilafat to clothes and giving it to Ibn Abi Quhafa as unfitting? Who would ever resemble themselves and refer to themselves as a stick that is the central point of an asyab, of a device used to make wheat, that everything revolves around it and only it? The Imam Ali refers to himself like this: Ama wallah, laqad taqammasaha ibn Abi Quhafa, wa innahu liya'lamu anna mahalli minha mahallul qutb min al-raha. Peace be upon Allah, salatu ala Muhammadin wa ala Muhammad. In the continuation, the Imam Ali alayhi salam then says, ينحدر عن السيل ولا يرقى إلي الطير. What does this mean? The Imam Ali alayhi salam then says that it flows from me a river and flows from me a tsunami, a river so large and so wide that no matter how hard birds try to fly over, they can't. What does this mean over here? The Imam Ali alayhi salam over here is referring to his knowledge, that there's no person more suitable for khilafat and the guidance of the Muslims than Imam Ali alayhi salam. Flows from me a river of knowledge so vast that any bird that would try to cross over it, they would be incapable of doing it. And in a hadith from the Prophet, our Prophet, the Prophet Muhammad, what does he say about knowledge? He says that أنا مدينة علم وعلي بابها. Of course, Imam Ali alayhi salam would be the most rightful heir and the rightful person to be able to have this khilafat, the rightful person to be able to guide the Muslims. He has such knowledge that he's considered the door or the gates to the city of knowledge. But sometimes, what some questions might come, and some questions might arise. Why would the Imam Ali alayhi salam complain about khilafat? Were the Ahlul Bayt always seeking for power? Were the Ahlul Bayt always seeking to gain the power over others? There's an answer here. It's that the Imam Ali alayhi salam did not complain for khilafat just because he wanted the power, but because it was his rightful. Because it was his right. The Imam Ali alayhi salam would never complain over something so pitiful as khilafat, because it's nothing for him. He is the person who has been mentioned many times in the Quran. He has a relationship that Harun had to Musa alayhi salam. So why would the Imam alayhi salam would complain about this khilafat? It was to show that how evil or unjust these people would be if they had khilafat in their hands. The only person that had this right, the only person that was worthy of having khilafat was Imam Ali. Imam Ali here is complaining that if they were to have khilafat, the whole of the Muslims would be corrupt. If it was with me, I would help guide the Muslims. He was so frustrated, under so much frustration. It was because all of the Muslims, because of all of us. The reason Imam Ali alayhi salam was complaining and was so frustrated over this khilafat was because he was frustrated and so uncomfortable and so angry to see how the ummat or how the Muslims would be after khilafat was given to the wrong person. This is Imam Ali alayhi salam. Such frustration and such uncomfortableness just because he saw that the Muslims or his ummat were going the wrong path. Now, of course, this khutbah has a continuation, which we will be going over in the future nights, inshallah. I thank you for giving me your time. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa alihi al-tahirin.